It's the same old song and dance for the Orlando Magic, a national TV game, an egg laid, plenty of turnovers, plenty of fouls, plenty of disconnection. So what's the fix today on Locked On Magic?
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is November 5th, 2025. Remember, my name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You, of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipR. I've been a credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, another national TV dud for the Orlando Magic. Why the problems are all the same. So what do we do about it? We'll get to familiar frustrations today on Locked On Magic. Before we do any of that, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic even bigger part of your day by being one of our Orlando Magic dailies. And especially on days like this, we truly appreciate all of our Orlando Magic dailies that are just waiting with bated breath to hear what I have to say about a game like this. You can check us out wherever you download podcasts. We're all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Where do we begin? Where do we begin with a game like this? A 127-112 Hawks win that was never truly competitive. The Magic got down 15 in the first half, made a great push to make it a 4-point game. And it was just like, okay, like they had their little swoon. They got hit in the mouth. They staggered. They got themselves back up. They started to look like the team that we know they can be. And then a 14-1 run to end the second quarter, and the Magic are back down 17 at the half. And they never threatened in the second half. They got it to 11 in the fourth quarter. Maybe it's worth talking about that fourth quarter a little bit, but the fact of the matter is, we've seen this story before. I would not call the effort as putrid as what we saw in Detroit. I would not call it maybe as bad as what we saw in Philadelphia. But it's not good. And it was a lot of the same problems that we saw in those two games. I don't think the intention is bad. I don't think the Magic are out there not trying. Yeah, there are some plays here and there. I'm not going to sit here and say otherwise, but I'm not sitting out here saying like, oh, the Magic aren't. The Magic, let's put it in this framework because I know a lot of people are talking about this. I don't think the Magic have given up on Jamahl Mosley. And honestly, the fourth quarter and the way the Magic fought back from a 24-point deficit. What was the largest deficit in this game? Sorry, let me look it up. Largest deficit was 25. You don't fight back from a 25-point deficit when there's nothing to play for to make it 11 with 5 minutes to play, which is very doable if you've given up on your coach. So let me start there. Jamahl Mosley might be the problem, and it might be that whatever offensive changes they're making, however the league has changed, which I think is a big part of this too. Which again, we'll see how things play out. I don't want to dive too deep into it, but it might just be that the Magic need a new offensive identity or new offensive ideas that just Jamahl Mosley doesn't have. And unless the team starts tuning him out, unless the team just, quits playing for him, I don't think a change right now does anything. So I think it is way too early to address that problem, to address that question. I know it's a hot button issue among Magic fans, but yeah, like the buck stops with the coach. Jamahl Mosley would be the first to say that. He's got to find a way to get this team to understand what they're trying to do and to execute it at a high level. And right now they're not doing it. Just plain and simple, they're not doing it. And that's why this conversation is open. I want to avoid talking about the coach question until after the Thanksgiving road trip. Like, honestly, like that is my stock response to everybody. So I'm going to say it as loudly and clearly as I can say it right here. I don't think the Magic will do anything involving Jamahl Mosley, save for Paolo and Franz both barging into Jeff Weltman's office and saying, we're not playing for him anymore. Barging that. Again, I don't think that's happening. I don't think the Magic will seriously evaluate that position until after the Thanksgiving road trip. So you got the month to turn this around, to start pointing this thing in the right direction. Because right now we are seeing frustration win. Just plain and simple, we are seeing frustration win. And more than anything else, that's the part that doesn't work. That's the part that just is so jarring. We're used to the Magic not making shots. And frankly, hate me for saying this all you want. I know they had 2 days between games. The last game of a long road trip, and this is the longest road trip of the season, the last game of a long road trip is always really hard. Go back and listen to my episode when the schedule came out in August. I can guarantee I said, I hate that this game's on national TV. I hate that this is going to be the big national impression that everyone's going to have of the Magic for a little bit. Certainly with the Paolo stuff, we're going to talk Paolo tomorrow. I want to talk Paolo tomorrow. I want to defend him a little bit. I'll talk about him in a little bit on the show. We talked about Paolo on Monday. Go listen to that episode. There are these national narratives that may or may not matter, but this is the national impression everyone's going to have of the Magic. And, I credit the NBC broadcast. They did a really good job filling in gaps and saying, like, look, this team is better than what they showed us today. They're still figuring a lot of things out. But the one thing that never happened last year and has now happened in the Detroit game, has now to some extent happened in the Philadelphia game, happened in the Atlanta game in Orlando a couple weeks ago. This Magic team never let bad shooting affect their defensive effort and defensive attention to detail. They never showed signs of frustration because they weren't hitting shots. They buckled down and got back to work. And so, yes, we could talk about all the little mistakes that built into this game. 6 turnovers in the first quarter. Set the tone for the entire game. Atlanta is aggressive, getting downhill. They had 24 fast break points. They won that battle, and that is where the game was won. Atlanta was able to turn turnovers. They were able to turn missed shots into easy baskets. And look, the Hawks scored 21 points off 19 Magic turnovers. The Magic scored 24 off 20 Atlanta turnovers. So they didn't win the game there. They won it with 23 fast break points against the Magic's 14. Only 7 transition attempts per game. Magic are averaging, I think, 13. Magic got half the transition attempts they normally get, or at least the fast break points. Well, we'll check synergy tomorrow and figure out the transition attempts there. The Magic were only 4 for 11 on second chance points, 16 second chance points. That's a huge thing for Orlando. They only got 46 points in the paint. They were even in points in the paint. So yes, this game did come down to shooting in the end. Atlanta was 13 for 30 from 3. Orlando was 11 for 34. They made their threes. 4 of them came in the fourth quarter. I'll grant you that. They got to the line for 42 free throws. Atlanta was 34 for 42 from the foul line. Orlando got their diet of free throws, 33, but they're fouling so much. Their defense is putting them in a hole they can't get out of, and it starts with the energy they're giving on offense. This team never relied on its offense for energy, and that is the biggest thing they have to figure out. Because, look, frustration is winning. The Magic know how good they can be. We all know how good they can be. But frustration is winning. And before we talk about anything Atlanta's doing, and Atlanta played well, I want to give them all the credit. That team they know who they are defensively. That is such a huge thing. With Trae Young out, everyone's a little bit more urgent, a little bit more on point. They're defending at a higher level. They don't have Trae Young as a defensive weakness. I do think that is an area where they are certainly better without Trae Young. And everyone's slotting into their roles a little bit better. And the Cotton Orlando team, again, that was a little flat-footed. Desmond Bane picked up 2 early fouls. set the tone for the game. 6 turnovers, set the tone for the game. The Magic came out tired. They came out sluggish. And Atlanta is going to pounce on that every time, no matter who's in the game, no matter if Trey's playing or not, no matter if Kristaps is playing or not. Atlanta's going to pounce on that. They've got good players. Like Zachary, we should say, supremely impressive player. Jalen Johnson, really good player. Dyson Daniels continues to grow his offensive game. If the Magic aren't sharp, they're not beating good teams. And right now, they are simply not sharp. So let's forget this game as much as we can. Let's put this away and ask the big question then. Is there a way to fix this? That is what I want to get into in our second segment. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. The Magic have actually been favored in all 8 of their games so far this season. I don't know if that will last until Friday. Boston's not that great. What's Boston's record right now? I'm going to speak really highly while I look up the standings and say what Boston's record is right now. Boston is also 3-5. So, they struggle with offensive rebounding. So I would expect the Magic to be favored for a little bit. Probably the first game they won't be favored will be next Wednesday against New York. But nevertheless, right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Again, that's $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play today. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends over at Rougiette. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. So, don't listen to any of my excuses that I'm going to give for the Magic. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rougiette comes in. Don't take any schedule losses in the bedroom. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. I know a team that could use that on the basketball court. Visit Rougiette, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's Rougiette, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. Speaking of excuses, look, we don't have these numbers yet. NBA does not put them up fast enough for now that I'm trying to record these a little bit sooner after the game ends. I would venture to guess of the Magic's 34 three-point attempts, I would venture to guess more than 20 of them were wide open. And I would venture to guess of the Magic's 11 three-point makes, 8 of them were wide open, according to NBA.com's tracking stats. I would venture to guess that the Magic the Magic lost this game because they couldn't shoot. And Atlanta could. Atlanta made their shots. Credit to them. Atlanta started the game 21st in the league at three-point field goal percentage. Orlando was 30th. The Magic were, at least by the numbers, a better three-point shooting team. So, all these people are telling me, the Magic don't have enough shooters, and that's true, they don't. But, look, I don't want to – this loss sucks, and it's bad for all the reasons I've said it's bad. It's also the last game of a road trip. Again, go back, listen to my episode in August when the schedule came out. I am 100%, I said this. I don't like this game being on national TV because it's the last game of a long road trip. Doesn't matter what the conditions are. Your legs are going to be heavy. You smell home. And again, good teams, that doesn't matter. Good teams, that doesn't matter. You find a way. And that's kind of where we're at with this team. Are the Magic that team? Certainly today, they are not. Certainly today, they are not the level of team that we and they think they are. As Jamahl Mosley said repeatedly during training camp, whatever expectations we have for this team, the internal expectations are greater. We know, they know, and I think that is feeding part of the frustration. They know how good they should be. And I think they're just as frustrated, they're certainly more frustrated, that they're not reaching that potential. And so again, these excuses might be fair, but the good teams, it doesn't matter. The good teams find a way. And right now, the biggest issue is the Magic are not learning lessons while winning. That's what they did in 2009. That's what they did in 2010. They found ways to gut out victories while they were making mistakes. And right now, the mistakes the Magic are making are preventing them from winning. Now, I would say, so how do we move forward? Let's be proactive about this. Let's not dwell in the past. This happened. We see these patterns now. We see trends that we don't like. And look, some of this is still, yes, this team is coming together. Honestly, of the turnovers the Magic had in that first quarter specifically, and I would honestly say throughout the game, a lot of it is just they're learning how to play together. And they're learning how to function in this offense at the pace they're playing. So many of the turnovers were overpassing. We're just trying to squeeze a pass where there wasn't a lane. Trying to make that extra pass to a teammate they think is open instead of shooting the shot. It's crazy to say this. Be a little bit more selfish. Franz Wagner needs to take more shots. Paolo Banchero needs to take more shots. Now, you want to be under control, and I think that is a big part of this too. You want to control your tempo and control your decision-making, especially if you're playing faster. But I honestly still see the Magic doing a lot of good things. A lot of things I like. Again, we could talk a little bit about the coaching thing. The coach can't make the shots. He can only design plays to get the open shots. And I would agree that the Magic need to get Desmond Bane more shots. They need to be running more of that Paolo Desmond Bane pick and roll that's killing every time they run it. They ran it on the first play of the game of the season. Every time they run a Paolo Bane pick and roll and variations and cuts off of it, it works. Do it more. Run it into the ground. Come up with new variations and cuts and ways to get to it. Run it to death. That's confidence. That this team needs confidence and needs things. And again, I don't want to absolve Mosley. I do think Mosley is part of the problem here. That it's just, it feels like he's trying to throw the whole kitchen sink. And it's just no, just keep things really simple. Layer stuff on. It still feels like they ratcheted to 11 instead of gradually raising the temperature on what they're trying to do offensively. And I think that is part of the problem. And so I would say they're not going to practice Wednesday. They practice again Thursday. Simplify things. This team has been great in transition. So focus on defense. Focus on creating turnovers. Focus on what you do in those situations. In the half court, simplify things. Simplify it. Because far too often, in this game specifically, Paolo would get to a spot, get stuck, pick up the ball, and not know where to go. And Joe Prunty told the NBC reporter, I apologize if I'm not remembering her name, told the NBC sideline reporter, the problem was our spacing. The turnovers, the problem was our spacing. We were getting stuck places and we didn't know where to go. That's the problem. I agree. And some of that is cohesion. But as close as this group claims they are, and I do take them on their word on that they're a pretty tight-knit group, that they're that they're talking and trying to figure this out too. Like, again, I don't think they're sitting idly by. They showed us on a back-to-back against a really good offensive team in Charlotte, not a good defensive team, but a good offensive team, that they could figure this out, that they could have these conversations, hold each other accountable, and come out stronger. I am expecting the Magic to win on Friday. And I will be concerned if the Magic don't come out Friday night with their hair on fire, ready to do some damage. I will be extremely concerned if the Magic don't win that game. I wouldn't say comfortably. It's hard to win a game comfortably against any opponent with the way the Magic are playing, and obviously they did it twice against two very bad teams. But I would expect the Magic to come out much more focused and intense, because that's like what's missing. The Magic over the last 2 years, nobody outworked them. Nobody outworked them, especially on defense. Nobody outworked them. But unfortunately, that has become common. That the Magic are not winning the 50-50 balls. Atlanta won a lot of 50-50 balls in this game. That the Magic are not the ones hitting first. Like fouling, they need to defend without fouling, undoubtedly. There's a lot of fouls in these games. But the Magic need to be the aggressors, need to be on the front foot. And again, in this game, they were just constantly climbing uphill. From the jump, they were climbing uphill. They never had control over this game. They never had their way or their say. And by the time they did, they were too far down to really put their grips into it, to find that rhythm. And every time, like they stub their toe a lot. They make a lot of self-inflicted mistakes. There is an easy fix to this. It's playing better, like lack of a better phrase, but they know what to do. They know what they're capable of. And it's pure and simple about execution. And yeah, it is on Jamahl Mosley to get them to execute better, to be more effective. But now we have patterns. Now we have trends. And when the Magic play defenses that put up resistance, because Washington and Charlotte did not, when the Magic play defenses that put up resistance, they hit this major wall. And it's a wall the Magic have always been able to get through. But this group just hasn't. And frankly, until this group truly realizes that their best bet for better offense, their best bet to win is leading with their defense and the energy their defense provides, this team's not going anywhere. And look, we could complain about the offense all we want. And maybe that will ultimately be this team's undoing and lead to some very serious questions in the offseason, if not soon. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But we know Jamahl Mosley is an excellent defensive coach. We know this system works when it is executed well. We know that it can overcome some god-awful shooting games. But until this team executes that, none of it's going to matter. And that's been the lesson of these last 3 losses, especially. That the Magic aren't going anywhere if they let offensive frustration beat them. And that's what happened again tonight. Let's talk individual performances. Let's run through the box score. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by friends over at Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. Yuck. That's where Gusto comes in. Take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. With unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, it means there's no surprise charges at the end of the month. Gusto's automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits save you hours every week, and knowing you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you real peace of mind. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at Gusto, GUSTO.com/LockedOnNBA. One more time, that's gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. Let's run through the final box score as the Orlando Magic fall to the Atlanta Hawks 127-112. A disappointing game, to say the least. I've got the final offensive rating, defensive rating numbers. That's one of the good reasons about stalling. Magic finished with a 125.7 defensive rating. Again, that is just plainly unacceptable. Far too many of these games where the Magic are just bleeding points. Orlando, though, does finish with a 112 offensive rating, which, again, not great. But if the Magic play defense at the level we know they're capable of, that is enough to win. And so, again, like, look, Orlando missed shots. They did not have a good offensive game. They found a little bit of something in the second half when the game was virtually over, but none of it mattered because they didn't get stops. And so, again, I think for all the things we want to complain about the Magic's offense, for all the things we want to say, like, oh, the Magic have to be this, that, or the other on offense, they've got to be better on defense. None of this matters if their defense doesn't lead the way. And so that, to me, that remains the big takeaway. I know you want to talk about the offense. I know everyone's frustrated with the offense, as they should be. It's not, a 112 offensive rating and, is not good enough. It's fine. It's not great. It's good for this team, perhaps. It's good for last year's team, perhaps, but it's not good enough. But it doesn't matter if you're giving up 127 points, just plain and simple. Orlando shoots 43.4% from the game. Atlanta shoots 55.6%. Again, threes are even. 13-11. Atlanta wins that. They shoot a little bit more efficiently. Atlanta shoots 34 for 42 from the line. Orlando 29 for 33. A lot of the other stats are just even. So again, it does come down to just making shots. So simple games sometimes just make some shots. Let's start with Paolo Banchero. Talked about Paolo Banchero on Monday's show, dispelling some myths. I'm a big believer that he's having a really strong season, or is starting the seedlings of a really strong season. In a game where the Magic trailed by as much as 25, and a game where the Magic were never really in it, Paolo Banchero was +2. Like, Paolo Banchero made a really positive impact in this game, and it's going to get hidden. And yes, we expect more scoring from him. We expect more efficiency from him. He is not making jumpers right now. No one on this team is. The Magic, I think, take the fewest jumpers in the league. It's a problem, especially when you're not getting to the line. But Paolo got to the line later in the game, got a lot of his free throws in the second half. He was 10 for 12. He finishes with 22 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists. He does have 3 turnovers. So again, there are these mistakes that have to be cleaned up. But like, look, Paolo Banchero over the last 4 games, really, over the last 5 games on this road trip, became a nightly triple-double threat. Now, maybe that is a low bar to clear in the modern NBA, certainly with the pace that a lot of these teams are playing at. But less and less we are seeing Paolo be a negative influence. He has cut down a lot on his mid-range jumpers. He's cut down a lot on his sort of like star shots and kind of those Kobe shots, for lack of a better way to phrase it. He's not doing that as much. He's trying to force his way to the basket. So I like what I'm seeing in the direction that Paolo Banchero is heading. Tonight, in this game, missed a lot of shots around the rim, missed all 4 of his 3-pointers. Like, again, he took them. There's still this little thing of when the Magic start missing threes, they get hesitant from 3. It's like, nope, keep firing, keep shooting them. If it's a good shot, it's a good shot. Take it. But Paolo is not the problem tonight. Yes, like, the Magic probably need him to carry a little bit more of a burden. And frankly, like, Paolo sometimes needs to know, like, okay, I'm the only one that's got to go, and let me do my thing. But honestly, like, ever since I called for him to be more of a hub offensively, and essentially to Jamie Tartis, everyone play through him, not to him. He's delivered that. So I have no complaints about Paolo Banchero's game. While Paolo continues to get all the heat because he is not a stats darling, this was not a great game for Franz Wagner. He finishes with 18 points on 6 for 15 shooting. 0 for 3 from 3, 6 for 6 from the foul. I mean, he would come down a little bit on there. 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 turnovers. The 4 turnovers were big. He was 1 for 7 in the first half. So credit to Franz, came out in the second half, 5 for 8 in the second half. You'll take that. But again, the Magic down 17 at halftime. In the first half, the Magic needed support. They needed someone to help Paolo Banchero, to give him a bit of a boost, to be an engine on offense, to create something. And again, credit to Dyson Daniels. Dyson Daniels got the call on Franz Wagner. He stymied him. He made him frustrated. He made it really, really hard for him. Franz got him a few times, as any star will do, but constantly just putting traps. And again, so much of this is just about trust. Like, I have no other way to explain it. So much of this is about trust. Does the team trust where their teammates are going to be? Do they trust that I have my outlets? If I get stuck, where are my teammates? Like, they don't know that yet. And maybe they should 8 games in the season. I think we should be increasingly less tolerant of some of these mistakes. But I think the Magic have, or Jamahl Mosley certainly, I think, has kind of said and warned everybody, like, this process, it's going to have some bumps in the road. And this was clearly a bump in the road. You want it to be a bump. Don't let this be a true setback. You took 2 steps forward. You took a step back. Well, now take another 2 steps forward against Boston, against Portland. Continue to kind of push this team forward. And I think that's where we're at. Again, Franz got his numbers. I would not call this a good Franz game. Paolo, I think, was forcing some things and trying to make things happen. And so much of this is, again, do Paolo and Franz trust their teammates to make the right decision, to keep moving the ball, to make open threes when they get them? And again, the way this game played out, no, they didn't. And that's why I think you see a lot of the struggles offensively that you see. Desmond Bane, I want to get to him. 9 points, 2 for 6 shooting, 2 for 4 from 3, 3 for 5 from beyond the arc. This was 3 turnovers. This was a rough game for Desmond Bane. And this was before he got ejected. Desmond Bane did get ejected in the third quarter. Took a 3. And again, I like him taking 3s. He came across the screen, defense went under, had some space. We want Desmond Bane shooting at 3. I don't care that he missed it. We want him shooting at 3. But clearly a little frustrated that he missed a 3. Onyeka Okongwu, who challenged the shot, kept running. When the Hawks got the rebound, they threw a Hail Mary pass to him. Desmond Bane was late recognizing. He got back, missed the opportunity to try and intercept it. Ended up grabbing Okongwu's left arm, pulled him to the ground, and then as he was going down, he shot the ball, and Bane slammed the ball like in the direction of Okongwu's head. He got called for a flagrant foul for the foul, a technical foul for the slamming the ball, and was ejected from the game. Both calls perfectly fair. I thought it was a fine, hard foul. Again, like, I get it was a safety issue. He had to foul in that situation, so I'm not upset about the foul. But very clearly, he let frustration beat him. And, Dez got himself going a little bit in the third quarter. The Magic ran some Paolo-Dez pick and rolls, and every time they run a Paolo-Dez pick and roll, it works. Like, every time the Magic run a Paolo-Dez pick and roll, it works. Just plain and simple, it works. And that is what the Magic have to keep working for and find ways to integrate more into. But Dez is really struggling to fit in. And it's not about the offense. Like, he'll find his fit there. He is really struggling to fit in defensively. Just a lot of blow-bys. Teams are attacking him. They know he doesn't have the size. He is overplaying and over-rotating. And again, like, he's not the only one that has problems. I thought Anthony Black was really poor defensively. I thought Jalen Suggs was really poor defensively, to be perfectly honest. Jalen finished with 12 points, 4 for 8 shooting, 2 for 3 from 3. A lot of that coming in the second half. Had 5 fouls, had 4 assists, had 3 steals, had 2 turnovers. But Suggs, frankly, just a little wild. Made some really bad passes, really bad turnovers. Got beat a few times off the dribble, beat on cuts a few times. Just super late. And like, look, I think it's still clear Jalen Suggs isn't 100%. Like, he's playing, he's giving it his all. These 4-minute bursts are really preventing him and his teammates from getting rhythm together. I'd rather say, like, hey, you're getting, if you're limited to 20 minutes, 5-minute stints every quarter. Let's establish, like, hopefully we see those minutes bump up soon, but it's been rough. And there are some games where Jalen Suggs' frenetic energy is what makes this team super special. And there are games where his frenetic energy works against him. And this was one of those games where it works against him. So again, like the defense it's just not there. And like even Anthony Black, like I didn't love Anthony Black's game. 7 points, 2 for 7 shooting. Really just not dialed in defensively. Again, Suggs had some dumb fouls in the backcourt. Again, Hawks paraded to the line. You can't be giving away fouls. Black had a few dumb fouls. He got overextended a few times trying to put ball pressure in the backcourt. Left them 5-on-4. Left them with the low man having to step up. Left open threes. Like it's a lot of defensive breakdowns just at the point of attack, which we're just not used to seeing. Again, the Magic are used to be so good at containing the ball, keeping it where they want it to go, staying in front of the ball, guiding directly to the help they want to guide to so they can help, so they can rotate, pre-rotate. That's just not happening with any consistency against quality opponents. Wendell Carter, he'll finish with a decent stat line, 11 points, 5 rebounds, 4 for 8 shooting, but a really poor game for him as well. Struggled defending Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis was 15 points, 11 for 13 shooting. He was only 2 for 8, but 11 for 13 shooting between him and Franz Wagner trying to defend Kristaps Porzingis. Just a really rough night. They fouled so much, just couldn't keep their hands off of him. Carter was just super frustrated. And again, like you look at the Magic's foul list, 5 fouls for Wendell Carter. He was in foul trouble, had to come out of the game. Desmond Bane picked up 2 fouls early. He had 4 in the game before he got ejected. Jalen Suggs had 5 fouls. It was just a lot of the Magic's best defenders had to play hands off, had to play timid and tentative. And again, that might be the whole reason why the defense stunk tonight. And look, you start with no fouls. And you commit that first foul, and it puts you on your back foot a little bit. The Magic were on their back foot all night because of all the fouling. And that is on them, obviously, to fix. But I think that has a lot of knock-on effects that slowed the team down and kept them from playing the kind of defense that they want to play. The only good player off the bench for the Magic tonight was Tristan da Silva, 20 points, 8 for 11 shooting, 4 for 5. Had the three-pointer going. And frankly, 25 minutes of Tristan da Silva is not enough. Magic need to play him more. They need to get him in the game as much as they can. He was not getting a ton of minutes, and once Desmond Bane came out, Tristan da Silva went in. He went on a 10-0 run, scored half his points, like right there in the third quarter, that got the Magic kind of threatening back in the game again after giving up a 6-point possession. So da Silva, I thought, did a lot of really good things. Just, what we expect from Tristan da Silva. He turned the ball over a little bit, but again, like, we know what to expect from Tristan Silva, so there's stuff to like there. Every Atlanta Hawks player scored in double figures. Zachary Risachet had 21 points, 3 for 8 shooting from 3. Nickeil Alexander-Walker had 20 points. Dyson Daniels, 18 points, 6 assists. Kristaps Porzingis, 15. Jalen Johnson, 17. Onyeka Okongwu had 14 off the bench. Just the Hawks were able to score way too easily. The Magic weren't able to answer, couldn't keep up offensively. Just again, fell behind the first half. Couldn't keep up in the second half, made a few pushes here and there, but never anything to really threaten the Hawks after the Hawks went on that 14-1 run to end the second quarter. It's just a lot of the same problems. The Magic are still going through these major offensive lulls. They're still just not connected. Like that's the only way I can describe it. They're just not connected. They're not on the same page. And that is the issue right now is the Magic got to get on the same page. They got to find each other, and they got to know what they're running, and they're just not. And that's why they're struggling against these teams that put up resistance. Like, again, no offense to our friends in Charlotte or Washington. Detroit's a good defensive team. Philadelphia has a distinct offensive style. Atlanta has a good defensive team. The Magic are struggling to beat good defensive teams. And this weekend will be a big test. Boston struggles on the offensive glass. That'll be a saving grace for Orlando, because Orlando's really good on the offensive glass. 14 offensive rebounds in this game. Didn't score on a lot of those, but 16 points on 14 offensive rebounds. Like that could have been an area the Magic could have made a comeback in this game. The Magic should be able to rebound against Boston over the weekend, but Boston, a solid defensive team. Portland, a very good defensive team for Monday. And then, of course, you get New York on Wednesday. So some challenges ahead for the Magic. We're still going to learn a lot about this team over the weekend. Hopefully the Magic get home, get right. Hopefully at the end of the day, after this weekend, we can just chalk this up to being a schedule loss. Like I'm very amenable to that. I'm very amenable to throwing this game out and saying, like, schedule loss, whatever happens. You have 2 or 3 of them every year. It happens. Long road trip, whatever. We'll find out on Friday, but that's where we're at. The Atlanta Hawks defeat the Orlando Magic 127-112. Orlando moves to 3-5. Again, they're back in action Friday to open up NBA Cup play against the Boston Celtics. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. You can find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the fun places to download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can find us as well on YouTube. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. I'm going to plan on trying to do a playbook video tomorrow morning for the newsletter. We will see if I can get that done. Maybe look at some of the turnovers and where this disconnect is happening, but also look at the Paolo Desmond Bane connection, which I think is really promising and hopefully can continue to flourish. We'll get to that on the newsletter tomorrow. Again, patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day, go make Locked On Fantasy Basketball your second listen. Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 fantasy basketball podcast, giving you daily tips and helping you win your league, all while making you a smarter NBA fan. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. All part of Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We'll be back tomorrow. Don't know what we'll talk about yet, but we will be back tomorrow to talk about more Orlando Magic basketball. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.